Alright, well, same workspace, taller engine, so to zoom out a little bit. This engine, while I was playing with it last week, the starter came loose, so first thing I'm going to do is take that off, because the other engine it was clearly Loctited on, but this one, because it started slipping, I'm going to pop it off and take a look. Oh, it's got 2 set screws. Guess that's why the other one didn't want to come off. I didn't see that it had 2 set screws. And I have loosened both of those, and it's freely turning, so maybe there's actually like some sort of shallow what is going on there. It definitely doesn't want to pull loose. Huh. Well, again, I'm not going to go too far on to removing flywheels from these, because I do not want to lose the timing and deal with that. Not that I couldn't put them back in timing at some point, but I already know they work, so I'm not gonna like make a mess I don't have to clean up. Get this needle valve out of here, and then looks the same as the other one. Yeah. So these are all kinds of interchangeable parts with the other one. But pop our spark plug off of there, and right, 2.5 millimeter. Shouldn't be anything exciting compared to the other engine, but let's see, maybe this yeah, I don't think I have a tiny wrench to remove this water jacket cylinder up top. is. Yeah, this head gasket is in much better shape than the one off the horizontal engine. It doesn't have any evidence of leaking on it. I don't know if you can see particularly well. Still plenty of carbon buildup because these little engines don't run real hot and they don't mix real well. The valves, so these have the valve, and then there's a seat assembly that is put together with these, and you can see here that the intake valve is not actually seated into the head as deep as the exhaust valve. And on the other engine, the other head, those were level and both seated about the same into the head, so that's interesting. Oh, my little spark plug in this is very, very fouled and carboned up, so definitely going to have to find my tiny wrench so I can pull the spark plug out and clean that, because that's going to stop working soon enough. Also, apparently going to need to find a tiny wrench because the sealant on this carburetor needle valve is really tight, so maybe I won't pull that off because it's so on there. Oh yeah. So hit and miss engines because they depend just on the vacuum in the cylinder to open the intake valve. The intake valves aren't sprung very tightly, and I'm pretty sure I'm holding this right where I can. Let me look at the camera. Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's focused finally. So that's the intake valve, and that's the exhaust valve. You can see the exhaust valve has an extra loop on a spring to give it the tightness to hold it shut when it's not being depressed by the valve lifter, and so you can actually feel that that's stiffer than the other one. Yeah, slick little guys. So yeah, of course, because this one's got the sealed sump, there's not a lot to take out to see the cylinder, or the piston, but it's the same setup as the other one. Steel sleeve, pistons at the top here. It's got a lot of carbon on it too. Aluminum piston, all the same stuff as the other engine. As you can see, top dead center, there's a 1.5 millimeters there clearance before the head gasket. So luckily they're not interference engines. It doesn't seem, well, you can push the valves down so the piston will hit them, but when the piston, or when the push rod is, there's a lot of oily film in this cylinder. probably because with the wet sump, it's able to push a lot of oil up top when it runs. The other engine, because you have to oil the piston manually, or depend on oil in your fuel. Mine's not being over oiled, as it were. Let's see. If I found a tiny wrench, I wonder if, of course this is all metric, so I'd have to get my tiny adjustable wrench because I don't have tiny box wrenches in metric. Because you can see there's a let's zoom in here. Pull that into frame. Okay. Well, this here is a nut on a stud that's got an Allen key head in it. So, and there's not enough clearance to get an Allen wrench into that stud, so you unbolt the nuts, 4 of them, to hold the cylinder and jacket up top, and then that'll pull off the top there. While I was running this, I did have it full of water, and it's still full of water, so I'd have to deal with the water mess if I took that off, but I think I'll just put this back together. And maybe make a plan to tear this apart further, but right now it's working, and I don't want to upset the apple cart, as it were. Although, so, let's see. That is the way that the head gasket was on there. And set the head on. The head is easier to put on these vertical engines because the gasket's not trying to fall out of place. Just get it all lined up and it pops together. I suppose for a fun experiment, I can move the heads from one engine to the other, because last time when I was playing with these, the horizontal one ran significantly better, liked starting better, wasn't as finicky. Maybe there's something with the carb or with the tiny fuel mixer, and that one valve being not as seated as the other one. Stranger things have happened. Turns out, you know, tiny engines are a lot more finicky than the big ones because all the tolerances are so much tighter. Alright, those are nipped up. Let's see. Going clockwise. 1, 4, 2, 5, there we go, 3, 6, go around again, oh, hey, 1 and 4 were a little loose after the second lap, but 2 and 5, good, 3 and 6 had a little bit, not over tightening of course, just enough to make sure they feel secure. I do model railroading, so stripping off tiny nuts and bolts is a very real problem. If you've been working on big stuff, you know, you're used to being able to just crank on it until you get tired or try again later. But this little stuff, you know, as soon as it feels like you're turning on it, or it feels like you're trying to exert any effort, it means you're getting ready to break something. And you don't obviously want to be doing that, so. Alright, well, I suppose I ought to go play with these and make sure they still run after I fiddled with them.